having to use walking assistance stuff. Walking assistance. Walking assistance. That's hard to say. Hi, friends. It's Adam, the crippled cannabis cowboy. Thanks for watching my video on facing the inevitable if you're going severely disabled. You ain't alone if you're in that boat. It's a big wake-up call when those kind of things become a reality. When you realize you can't walk normally anymore, and it goes from there. It doesn't just, it just starts there. It doesn't stop there. You know, first you have your walking, and they call it your gait. And, you know, you just walk. You could trot, you could run, whatever. And then all of a sudden you can't run. And that's the first thing you notice is you can't really run because the impact hurts your knees, hurts your ankles, whatever. Then sooner or later walking becomes a problem and you have to use a cane. There's actually levels, like numbered levels, and I can't think of them right now, but this is what I've used. This is my experience. First, it starts as a cane, I guess, and I didn't use the cane. For me, it started with a walking stick, but you can use a cane. The cane puts a little extra stress on the wrist, so you got to watch out for your wrist because it's flexed. And if you do happen to take a fall, the problem that I noticed with the cane is it didn't have my wrist locking to support it, something like that. I could hurt myself holding a cane trying to walk with it, so I found more comfort in a walking stick. Then it started with the walking stick. You know, you just grab it, and one thing I noticed between the two, using a shorter cane and a longer walking stick, the cane kind of gave me 1 or 2 strides, and the walking stick I can get up to like 4. So the walking stick came out a little handier for me, if that makes sense. And with using the walking stick, I learned some things too. You have to be careful so you don't trip yourself and fall, but if you hold it like a shovel, I'm not even bullshitting either, but you know, you can use a walking stick, you know, just to, it's hard to explain, but I'm not saying use it as a shovel and that's how you walk. There's a way to walk with the walking stick. After you go crazy disabled, that shovel holding thing comes into factor. Then there's the walker. And I use a walker all the time now. And yes, I hate it, but it's necessary. I'll talk about that in a minute. And walkers, there's several kinds, and there's ones with wheels and there's ones without wheels. And the ones without the wheels, you know, they got the little tennis ball on them, that so you can like slide it. Those are significantly lighter than the ones that roll. The ones that roll are cool though. I actually like those a little better. They're easier to maneuver, like on a tile floor or something flat. In the grass, they, depending on the size of the wheel, they might be okay, they might not. But on those walkers, you will find, actually don't use a rolling walker if it doesn't have like bike brakes. So there's these brake things on either side, and they come in really handy. And after you get used to using them, you use them for your benefit. Like you could put the right brake on just a little bit to help you turn the walker right, if that makes any sense. They also make those things extremely collapsible now. So I actually always collapse mine. It fits in little tight nooks and crannies, and when you go to a restaurant, it's not in anyone's way. You can fold it and stick it right next to you, and when you're ready, you just plop it out. Plus, they got this seat thing on them, and you really want that seat. Then after that, it's the dreaded wheelchair, and I fucking hate wheelchairs. I mean, I don't hate wheelchairs, but I hate the fact that I may be in one day. I've used them several times now, especially when I go to like a hospital or a medical place that requires a distance. You can't, when you have PPMS, or actually whatever, if there are certain instances where you ain't gonna make it no long distance. Like for me, 10 feet can be tough. So for people that are worse than me, you can't even move. So you have to think of that. So the wheelchair kind of comes into play. And of the wheelchairs, there's a couple different kinds. And the one that I found safest for myself is for me to use is the one with the big wheel. You know, you got your arms, you go forward, you go backward, you could turn or whatever, that type of stuff. And I didn't do any hot dog and stuff yet, but you know I'm definitely gonna try that shit. Then there's the transport chair, and that's where an illusion comes into play. A transport chair is not a wheelchair. It's it looks like a wheelchair kind of because there's little wheels on the bottom, but it's literally for someone to transport you from one place to another. It's not for you to use. Now, they can be easy because you can use your legs, you can use your feet, and you can crawl around and maneuver. But the problem that I noticed with those is the like sit down or even the stand up, because the sitting down for a disabled person, there's something I'm very mindful about. As you're getting lower, there's like this collapse thing, like you just release your muscles and you just fall into the chair. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that if you got a solid chair. I don't do it. I like the extra effort. If you do that with a transport chair, it could fall, you could slip and hit your head, and I've seen that happen to people. I've seen it happen to my father. I've had to help him up, and it's not pleasant. Just don't get in that situation. Let transport chairs be for someone who's gonna transport you down the hall. After that is the bedridden phase, I guess. All the walking assistance goes out the window. You can't even maneuver anymore. You can't use stairs. You can't step. You could just basically fall, and that could be dangerous. You're gonna get a lot of new respect for falls. I remember when I was physically capable, falling really wasn't a big deal. And after you become disabled, it's weird. The only reason why I haven't gotten hurt yet is because of all the training I had on learning how to fall. And that's just muscle memory. Like, that's just sort of by chance that I happen to be falling the right way. And one thing I noticed when you fall is, you know, you put out your hand or you put out your elbow or what, you know, you don't want your face to hit. And that's where the big break happens. It breaks your arm or your elbow or something. I mean, it's better than your head hitting, I guess. So that's a tough toss up. Using those things are a huge ego checker, and you kind of realize you're in a different boat and things are pretty bad, and you can't let it get to you. I do my best to not let it get to me, and I notice there's a small problem with this walking assistance stuff is you start to rely on it, and that's good and it's bad. Like, it's good because it helps you move around, but it's bad because it makes you rely on it. And I've actually seen people that don't have to be in a wheelchair be in a wheelchair. And that just leads me to believe that some people that I've seen are in a wheelchair, they probably could have got a little more time. It's not like you don't need a wheelchair, but you might have got a little more time out of walking, running, standing, or whatever. Now, that's a toss-up too, because Do you want to push yourself and not use a wheelchair when, when you need one? Or do you want to push yourself and not use a cane or walking stick when you need one? So that's like the coin flip. That's the coin flip I deal with constantly, and that's the coin flip that pops up. So if you see one of these items that people are using, understand the hell they went through to use it. I used to be a ninja. I used to do all kinds of cool shit, and man, I can't even do anything. Which leads me to my next point. Your balance. Your balance is, it's the number one reason why all this stuff even exists. And it's just a trick. I can't say it worked for everyone. It worked for me, but when I walk, like when I don't have the assistance and I just have to use my steps to get from A to B, if I start to have a problem, similar to the stairs, immediately sit. Now, on the staircase, you can sit down, but I noticed for standing up, you don't want to sit in the ground. Plus, you could fall and roll and hurt yourself. But for me, I dropped my center of gravity, almost like it changed levels. And if you got bad knees, that could be a problem. If you can't support your weight when your legs are bent, that could be a problem. But it's only slightly. It's not like I just dip down into a squat. I'll just maybe drop 6 inches or 8 inches or something. I'll just wait until I get my balance. Then I'll stand back up and I'll take a couple more steps. And if I get wobbly, drop my balance. It's kind of like, I don't know, it makes you feel like that spy versus spy. You're trying to be quiet and you gotta drop your center of gravity. And I don't know, it just makes sense to me. And that's just something I tend to rely on. Over the past few years, I have come into a couple things that help, and obviously these are some things that are helping me. And a couple more pointers are keep your shoulders over your toes. And actually, thanks Tyler, that's very handy. That really works, because when you're able to go stand up and you can't get your shoulders over your toes, you ain't gonna stand up. You're gonna fall back in the chair, and if your shoulders go past your toes, you're gonna fall forward. So it makes a lot of sense. Then there's the turning thing, like the pivot. Pivots, I wouldn't mess with pivots. I've done pivoting my whole life, and nothing can tangle your feet up faster than trying to pivot. So I found just a trick. I do these little baby steps, and I just pick my feet up, put it down, I turn my feet first, then I turn my hips, then I turn my shoulders. I mean, it happens instantly. It's not like step by step. I mean, if you turn your feet, you can't really keep your hips and shoulders facing one direction. But thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel. I do hate having to bring this crap to you, but if it helps somebody else out, then that's a win for me. So thanks for watching.